Video 14. Got a call last night from my good friend Juan Gonzalez. Juan left the SEAL teams in 2009. Runs probably, well, I always portray him as probably running one of the top 5 executive protection and personal security, corporate security orgs on the planet. Just surrounded by special operators, great values. He's a great father, husband, friend, boss, operator, just super well-rounded human. And I brought him in to help me with Kanye on the security front when we were evaluating all of kind of Kanye's realities, I guess we could just say. But Gonzo called me last night and just said, hey, great videos, talk about value. Give me some examples of value that you've experienced in your programs, projects, relationships. So that's going to be the topic, value. And value is an interesting word. Value can mean a lot of different things in the business world. It can mean utility, it can mean benefit, it could mean monetary reward, and so defining value is really the first, I think, objective in any conversation when you're working with someone. And value is going to be determined by the paying asset, essentially, the employer, not the employee, although we all have to find value in the things we're doing. Probably the most diverse example of me bringing value to an organization is probably in my time at Delta Force. Those 5 or so years, I went in there initially to bring them a lightweight special forces boot that we had developed as a prototype at Nike and Innovation. And as my personal relationship thrived with that unit and my personal network kind of got brought to the table in different scenarios, because they're pushing the boundaries on problem solving, if you will, across a myriad of life and death situations. Yes, they are a military organization. They are a special operations unit, but their roles and deliverables are quite diverse, and the tools they use to deliver on those outcomes are quite diverse. And so they're always looking for an advantage. And it's an organization that is by far, filled with some of the highest performing humans on the planet. And so I went in there to do a boot. And as we looked at the boot and we looked at all the aspects that contributed to the boot, my value to the unit was they had equipment needs, they had apparel needs. So, the boot was the entry point of conversation. Nike Innovation was the reason that these two organizations would explore collaboration. And then me being just somebody who's constantly, relentlessly looking for ways to serve and ways to add value, that word, I thought, well, let me see your equipment. We go through that. I think we could use the resources within our organization at Nike to basically build these other things. So we built more samples and prototypes and high performance products for them. The world doesn't know about this stuff, but it was amazing, and it led, the products and the equipment then led to how the user is using those things. So it looked into human performance. It looked into the selection and training aspect. Training is how they apply all of their resources to outcomes. And of course, we wanted to understand better how that process is arrived at. How do you select who you use for what? So, we'll start looking at human metrics in that point. So we go from a boot to apparel to equipment to training to the tools of training in the human performance side. That led to technology. That led to biomedicine in the sense of a hemorrhage control device ultimately. But it took me into the whole medical technology space, if you will. And so the value became measured by how do I see problems? How can I bring solutions to those problems? Every time I'm able to steer the conversation into a more reasonable or a more logical or an unknown course of action, but I can back it with success stories or believable or trustworthy or measurable or just success outcomes, then my value increases to that organization. The more I am being valued for my ability to contribute to success or simply advancements, the more they're going to want to throw me at things. And so the converse of that, the opposite of that, and another example I learned about really being aware of that value being perceived by the individual delivering it may not match the value being perceived by the individual or the organizations that are receiving it. And in another, unrelated to Delta example, a very hard lesson I learned that was both professional and personal was coming to an end point in a relationship where I thought I had delivered a lot of value to that relationship. The measurable outcomes were many, the metrics were many. On paper, there was a lot of value delivered, but again, perception is reality. And so if the person evaluating that paper is looking for a specific value metric and you're not meeting it, then you quickly go from the value to the liability or the cost column. And that can happen, out of the blue, essentially. And it doesn't matter whether it should or it shouldn't. And it doesn't matter necessarily whether it's reasonable or unreasonable. What matters is if you're the person offering value in any situation, organization, partnership, relationship, whatever it is, what I learned in that hard lesson was you constantly have to be checking in and reevaluating to that counterpart. Are you delivering them value? If they're the reason you're there, then you need to constantly be checking that. And whether you think you should or you shouldn't, believe me, it's incumbent upon you to maintain that position in whatever the relationship is, wherever it is, to be checking in periodically, regularly. How's my value? What changes should I make? Am I serving the needs you're looking for? How do you want me to make adjustments? Because that's what partnership is. And that's one of the most important attributes I've found in measuring value is doesn't matter how valuable you think you are if you're the one trying to deliver it. It matters how valuable does the one receiving your services, time, efforts, how do they measure you? So thanks for your time again. And Gonzo, thanks for the word of advice. Great topic. I'll put a few more on the in the byline here on the post. And I'll see you guys next time. Appreciate you. God bless. Out.